Hey everyone, welcome to The Gig, a series about film and TV from behind the scenes and on the screen. We're your hosts, Leyla T. Rosario.
And Jessica L. Ransom. And today we will be interviewing Ashley McFarlin Buie, as Vice President of Development at WE TV. Ashley oversees new and developing projects for the network and serves as an executive producer on the popular series Beyond the Pole.
Founder of Bird's Eye Entertainment, Inc., Ashley has worked on a multitude of shows with various television networks, including Bravo, Discovery, OWN, Oxygen, CNN, MTV, the Travel Channel, and VH1. And she has produced popular TV shows such as The Real Housewives of Potomac, Season 1, Girls Cruise starring Lil Kim, Chili, and Maya, The First Family of Hip Hop, and more.
And I would just want to give a quick personal story now to Ashley. We actually met in 2011 on a show called My First Renovation on HGTV. And you were the first ever Black supervising producer I've ever met. So I was like, yes, girl. And I was like, I never met one in my entire life. So I had all the little Black girl feelings for that. So I really want to thank you for being on this show so much. And I want to get into you right now. Just tell us your journey for being like a PA at CNN to now being the Vice President of Development at WE.
Wow. That is just so humbling. First of all, I think for everybody out there, you just never know who's watching. Like, for you to say that had such a personal impact on you at that time in my life, I was really just trying to make it. Like, I was just like, I just need a job. Give me a job. So that means a lot to me. And that's very humbling, and definitely warms my heart to hear that any part of my story can impact yours in such a positive way. I think with regards to like my journey, it's pretty loaded question. But I will say, I've been exposed to television and television production since I was a kid. My mom is a producer, and I sort of grew up just kind of thinking being behind the scenes on sets and stuff was pretty normal. Sitting in edits was like par for the course for life. I didn't learn until I got older that everybody didn't do that. And I had a deep appreciation and respect for what my mom was doing as a Black woman in television, to run shows and to tell stories and to craft narratives that needed to have been told from her perspective and with her sensibility. So I embraced that for myself. I didn't always know I was going to work in television, but I did always really have a passion for storytelling. And I knew that would be through some vehicle of communications, be it print, be it film or television or radio. I knew I would land somewhere in here. So it was just through exposing myself to different internships and meeting different professionals in the field. It was just through being exposed to different experiences in the industry, through my internships and meeting different people who worked in the field, that allowed me some real perspective and insight about what I wanted to do personally, like where my gift would be most beneficial to this world. So I got an internship at CNN, I think senior year in high school. And that was a game changer. That was something that really sort of like pointed the trajectory of my career in the right direction. It was almost like a little God moment where he was like, yeah, I know you like this TV stuff, but just so you're aware, you're suited for the top. Like, so at an early age, he didn't, and this is no shade to people who kind of like work in smaller regions and then kind of make their way up. It was just clear to me early on that he was like, your role in all of this is going to be from a bird's eye view. That's where, the name of my company comes from. Whatever I have to offer this industry, with regards to, my skill set of storytelling, my ability to communicate, my team management skills, it was clear in getting that internship at such an early age that he wanted to use that at a higher level. So having started with such a large brand and such a huge network, my eyes were always thinking big, big, big. And I think that guided me through my career to really never settle for small and to always be driven for larger avenues to do what I do. So after CNN, I went on to take internships when I was at Howard University with BT and CBS. And again, they were large companies that I was working at through internships. And I think experiencing work at such a young age and so early in my career with such large networks, it really gave me insight into the business of it all. So I was able to get exposed to how financing and staffing strategies influence creative. And I don't think everyone has that that level of insight so early, because it really colored how I was going to approach my career. I got the idea early on that I really needed to be savvy in all aspects of production, behind the scenes of the budgets and the marketing, as well as the writing and the directing. And I ended up choosing to seek out opportunities that would help me grow in those areas.
Great. Awesome.
Excellent. Thank
Yeah.
you. Ashley,
Thank you
tell
guys.
us more about your role at WeTV. We want to know.
I love working at We. I work with a phenomenal group of people in the development group and in the current production team, and with the production team. It's a very small group that puts together We programming. It's very family oriented, very supportive, very collaborative. I was very surprised at how collaborative everyone is, which is really refreshing to someone who's new to the building. And my role in development as a vice president is really to help be a part of the filtering process. As people approach the network with different ideas, I'm now a part of the group that determines, is this something we should be paying attention to, which I value, because we, again, are a small group. It's only myself and one other VP, and then we have an SVP who work together to determine, what's out there that would be appealing to WeTV audiences. So I don't take it lightly that I'm at that table. WeTV has a very broad viewership base. We've been top #1 with African American females on Thursday nights for, I think, the past 3 years. So that is a pretty powerful place to be as a network. And as a Black woman, I'm happy to be in the conversations that help determine what we want to feed our viewers.
Great. Follow-up question for you. Quite a
Sure.
few people that watch the gig don't work in reality TV. So can you explain to them how it works behind the scenes? What is the role of a reality TV producer?
Sure. I guess first and foremost, I'm sorry you guys are missing out. You should start watching some reality TV. Don't believe the hype that it's all trash, because it's not. I didn't end up producing reality TV by personal design. I just kind of fell into it. When I was doing this work, reality television was kind of new. Everyone was kind of trying to figure out what it is and how we can tell stories in this way. I always look back to The Real World from MTV some years back as really kind of like establishing the new playground of reality television and unscripted television, where people can start to craft characters and tell stories through the lives of real people. And for those that don't watch it and who think it's all fake, it's not all fake. I can't speak for all reality TV, but I do know for a fact all of it is not fake. What I do and what I have done as a showrunner and executive producer for years is really try to hone in on the authenticities and the truths of the cast members of certain shows, to figure out, based on your real life, what story can be told in a universal way, to connect with as many people as possible. So for instance, if you want to get into the mechanics of it, at the top of at the top of a production schedule, before we even start shooting, I would spend a few weeks, my producers and I would spend a few weeks with the talent, just getting to know them. Who are you as a person? What do you do day to day? What's your family like? Who are your circle of friends? So we can really understand, if you were a storybook character, how would your story be written? And I do at least, work very hard to create storylines and establish scene work that we're going to film for the show, that is an honest depiction of that person's life. And in the time frame of maybe 6 to 8 weeks of shooting, what can we structure to allow for who you are to be illustrated on screen? Because we can't tape you for a year and then put together a show. So we have to figure out how to truncate what might happen in a year in a short period of time to still reflect who you are and what you're about in an entertaining and honest way.
Have you experienced any racism or sexism or any microaggressions in this industry while working on a show? And if so, how did you handle it?
Sure. I think all of us have. Kudos to anyone who hasn't. Like, wow, how'd you pull that off? But I mean, for years, I've always been the youngest, the only Black, the only woman, the one who didn't come up in this particular type of TV show that I'm now being charged to produce. Like, there are always things that can be held against me that I walk into the door with. And I think the way I've dealt with most of it is identifying where it's coming from. I think it's easy for people to get shut down by racism and for discriminatory acts to really debilitate us when we don't have a clear understanding of where it's coming from. And 9 times out of 10, it has nothing to do with you. You can't interpret someone's racist acts or discriminatory practices toward you as any reflection of you being less than. It is a reflection of them being less than. There's an inadequacy in them that pushes them to the point where they project it onto you. And a lot of times people will go out of their, and I have certainly experienced that on several different occasions. And the one thing that has kept me going is not to waste my energy trying to process it and what did I do wrong or what can I do to make them understand who I am, but really strategizing how to get around it. Like if you are standing in the way of something I know is mine, and that this again comes from knowing who you are and knowing what you deserve and knowing your worth, I know I am going to be and I am a great storyteller. If you're standing in the way of me getting to something that allows me to do that, I'm not just going to keep forcing myself against you. You're nothing to me. You're this to me. I will just use the wit and ingenuity that's been gifted to me to figure out how to get around you, how to get over you, how to get under you, or how to find somebody else just to flick you out of my way. But I'm certainly not going to sit here and waste my time engaging in whatever this toxicity that you have going on to mess up what I have going on. I'm good. I'm covered. I'm destined for greatness. I'm sorry that you don't see it, but because you don't see it, I can't waste my energy on trying to get you to see it. Mm-hmm. Those are your blinders. Those aren't mine.
Yep. Yes. And let's go to what's pretty current right now as well with George Floyd. How do you feel about the race revolution? How do you think that's going to change reality television? And what would be your utopia going forward during and after this movement for television in general?
How do I feel about it?
Yes.
Are you kidding me? I am saddened and disheartened by some of the violence and the turmoil that is sort of on the fringe of a lot of this, but I am inspired and encouraged and motivated by the heart of what's at the core of most of this, which is a true desire for change from everybody. I have witnessed a lot of this since I was a young teen, like 12 years old, I think is when the Rodney King verdict came down. And that was the first time I had seen something like that on video. It's funny now when people are like, but it was on video. That's what makes this different. And I was like, guys, we've been watching videos of this for decades. Mm-hmm. I have marched for the Trayvon Martins and the Eric Gardners and the Michael Browns. And it became deflating at a certain point because it felt like, and I'm sure a lot of other people in my generation of color would say, it just felt like we were just being completely ignored and not even believed. The things that we were saying, and like, I guess the last wave of this was what, 2015, 2016 with Baltimore and Ferguson. I mean, people we talked to outside of our communities just literally, they didn't believe us. They didn't believe that Black men were being targeted. Oh, that sounds crazy. No, there's just a few bad apples. And it was just like overwhelmingly sad that you're telling someone you're hurting, you're telling someone you're scared, who has the power to help fix this stuff, and they just don't believe you. It's like, as a woman, if you're being maligned at work because you're a woman, or you're being sexually harassed at work, and you try to tell someone, they don't believe you, it's just like, well, you just don't believe me? Not you don't agree with me, you don't believe the words that are coming out of my mouth, which means you're saying something about how you think about me. You think I have it within me to lie about something like this, to just make this up? So what I see going on now is encouraging, because it looks like people are finally taking a moment, and maybe the COVID-19 pandemic gave them a moment to really process what we have been saying for years, and to not be able to deny that it's the truth. And something in my belief is spiritually happening, such that people's hearts are being convicted and their minds are being transformed to receive the truth. And the truth of the matter is that Black and brown people have been oppressed for years, for generations. And that oppression is not something that are isolated incidents. These are things that have been ingrained into the systems of our country, such that there is no way for us to truly be free, because around every corner there's a trap that was placed there strategically to stop us from being free. And, to quote Al Sharpton from his sermon at George Floyd's first memorial service, we're not asking for handouts. We're not asking for you to like hold our hand, or, we're not asking for, we just want your knee off our necks. We just want you to let us live. Like, let us be who we were created to be, without placing these unnecessary boundaries and limitations on what's possible. Because all of those limitations and boundaries that are placed in our way are placed there out of fear. Whatever operations are at place to keep this stuff intact, it's rooted in a fear that somehow we might hurt you, or somehow we might displace you, or somehow our success, means your failure. And that's just a misunderstanding. Like, that you're just not aware of how this works. We're loving people. As loving people, we just want to love ourselves so that we can shine and be bright, and then somehow support you in what you're doing. Like, thank God Black people aren't rising up in the anger and in the visceral frustration that they would be totally justified in doing based on how they've been treated in this country. We're rising up with peaceful protests. We're rising up with, hey guys, we get it. It happened. All we're asking for is for you to turn off the leaky faucet from the flood before. You know what I mean? Like, we still have some residual issues from that slavery thing. Would you guys mind stepping in and mopping that up so we can all just kind of walk without slipping and falling and breaking our necks? That's it. And so, I mean, when you ask me how I feel, that's how I feel. And I am hopeful that this is a real change, that, this is not a moment. This is not, people just kind of jumping on the bandwagon because it's popular or trendy, but that we finally gotten to a stage in all this where the generation that's leading this, those Gen Zers and some of our younger millennials, are aware, keenly aware of what their predecessors have been talking about. They see the absurdities, they see the hypocrisies, and they're in positions now to use their voices to make some things shift.
Right. Yes. Yes.
What do you think of the COVID restrictions now in terms of production? And will these guidelines greatly change reality TV? And if so, in what specific ways?
Ooh, y'all are coming with the heavy hitters. Wow. What do I think of the COVID restrictions? I mean, I'm happy they're there. I don't want to get sick. It's how do I say this? Yes, it is a huge hindrance in doing what I do for a living. A lot of our shows have been placed on hiatus. We're sort of like in this sort of holding pattern of trying to figure out when we can start taping again. But I believe that COVID is real, and I believe that it hurts people. And I'm happy that the industry has taken such a strong stance in putting people over profit. And I am patiently awaiting when things can not return back to normal, because I'm not sure that will happen anytime soon. But we would get some real direction on how to do what we do safely. And with regards to how that then impacts unscripted television, it impacts it in a big way with regards to the traditional docuseries shooting strategy. You know, with a lot of these docu-soaps, we are in people's homes. We have large all cast gatherings. We, you know, are traveling a lot often. All of that stuff gets sort of challenged with the reality of COVID-19. So we don't have the answer yet with regards to how we will continue to create this kind of television. But we're working on it. You know, we have meetings pretty regularly, just trying to come up with creative ways to do what we do. Do we do it with less people and scenes? Do we do more self-shot footage? Do we sort of embrace the lo-fi look of things that aren't necessarily shot with 3 cameramen and, you know, a huge crew? All those things I think are being taken into consideration. But ultimately, we will figure out a way to just keep telling people stories. You know, things evolve. Like, life has an interesting way of like figuring out how to get around curveballs.
All right, sis.
I know. Yeah. Amen to that. Well, I mean, what else? I mean, any final thoughts? I mean,
Yep. I'm sitting right there. But final thoughts you
right there, just like. Thank you.
Yes, yes. 85 thoughts for young Black and brown kids, or anything you want to say about television?
Well, I was going to say, if I could add something else, I don't know if you remember, Jessica, you had mentioned that time in 2011 when we were working together. I ended up leaving that project early because I got sick. And through that experience of a very debilitating, horrible health scare, I grew deep into my faith, and I wrote a book called The Truth Wrapped in Love. You can find it on my website or Amazon.com, the ebooks. And, you know, if anyone out there is interested in how your faith walk can help influence every other step you take, I would truly encourage you to grab the book. I like to call it like my Cliff Notes to the Bible, because while I was sick and I was kind of down off my feet, out of work for about 6 to 8 months, I read the Bible cover to cover, and I discovered a lot in there about love and about understanding, you know, faith. And, you know, a lot of the stuff that we've been taught in church and through religion just really was not true. So I wrote the book to help encourage people. It's a daily devotional. I wrote it to encourage people to figure out ways to allow your faith to guide you to where you want to go, because ultimately that's what's worked for me, and I would love it, you know, to work for other people as well.
All right, that's it from me. Yes. Thank you again so much. We'll obviously be in touch.
Thank you, guys.
We'll be in touch soon with you know, whatever, just keeping in touch in general. All right.
Absolutely. You guys stay safe and healthy.
You too. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.